Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing the expansion index test. Alright, so the equipment that we need for this test is first of all our collar and mold. This is our mold. The collar goes into the mold that way and we hammer the soil in. We'll show that to you in the next step. This is a straight edge. It helps with cutting and trimming the excess soil on top of our collar. This is the reservoir that will place the collar with the soil in, or the sample in. These are the porous stones. I'll give you a little close-up of what a porous stone looks like. Right there we'll have two of these. And this is a little load transfer plate that will go on top of the porous stone right there. And this is the standard compaction hammer that we'll be using for this test. Alright guys, so showing the different pieces of the mold here. So this is the bottom part. Then I place this little round shape here. Then I place the collar on. This is what the collar looks like. I've measured the height and the diameter of this using a caliper. And this is the final piece that goes on top. So just to show you a cross-sectional view of this, this is what the setup looks like. The idea is to place the soil that's prepared for the expansion index, which I have right here, into the collar in two steps, compact it using a compaction or a standard compaction hammer. Using 2 layers and 15 drops for each layer, and then once we have that ready we'll pull it out. So I'm going to start with scooping in some of the soil into the container. Ideally what I would like to do is, once that first layer I've compacted that, I'd probably want to be somewhere in the middle of the height of the collar. So probably that's a good amount of soil. I'm going to use the hammer right there. I'll show you an outside view of this right now, but now that I have the close-up, here's 1, 2. I want to do this in a rotation kind of motion, going from one corner to the other. How many was that? That's 15? Yeah. Alright, very good. That's 15 drops. So that is what that got me to. So if I remove that part, that amount of soil and the hammer drops after compaction got me about halfway through the collar. So I still have that much to fill out with the second layer. Right? So that's what I'll do. So I'm going to add the soil in one more time. So the remainder of what I had in here. Simply going to need a little bit more soil here. Alright, that should be good enough. It's alright to have a little bit of excess soil, but you don't want to be short on it. This may still not be exactly the amount we need, but alright, there you go. So same thing, one more time, the second layer, 15 drops. Alright, so this is the proper way to hold the hammer. So I've extended the rod all the way out right side. This will have a 12-inch drop, so that's one drop. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 drops. Alright guys, so this is the final product after doing the second layer and compacting it using the hammer. So I'm going to do now is try to disassemble the top or the bottom. Sometimes you need a tool to try to grab this piece out. There we go. So that's the excess part, and this is the mold. The good thing about this one is that we still have excess soil to remove from the top of the mold and also from the bottom. So the rest of this would be to trim this using the straight edge. The way to do this is kind of go through the middle and pull back. Just have to be careful with this step so that you don't lose some of the soil or little voids going into the sample. So you just grab the straight edge and push towards the edges to get that excess soil off. And then you do the same thing with the bottom. You want to make sure you have a flat surface at the top with no bumps. That's where I'm trying to get this to. Until you're not getting any soil to really come off. That means that you've hit a flat surface at the top. Almost getting there. There we go. So it looks like there's no other excess soil on the top, and we have a flat surface. So this is what it would look like. All nice and flat. And then what we do next is do the same thing for the bottom. So this is our final product right here, nice and trimmed in both directions. So put it right here. The next step is to place it into the reservoir and place in the porous stone. So I have a bottom porous stone that goes down there. Then after the bottom porous stone, I'll place my sample in and try to align it towards the middle. Then I place the top porous stone on here, and my little load disc that will go on top of that. You have to make sure that the top porous stone aligns well with the little opening on top of the collar so that it enables load to get through, which is what I'm doing right now. So that is the setup for this stage, and the next is to assemble it and apply the load, which I'll show you in a second. Alright, so now that we have the specimen ready to go, I'll place it on top of this loading device, and then I'll place something like this on the top to transfer the load. This is the dial gauge that we'll be using for this test. It's slightly different with the dial gauge that we previously calibrated for the triaxial and the direct shear device. Each tick on this dial, as you can see, is 0.0005 inches, although reading the dial is the same as was previously explained for the triaxial and the direct shear. So I'll place the dial up here in a vertical position, right on top of this rod, and I'll begin placing the load. So what you'll need for this step is a timer. For the first 10 minutes, you'll be just applying 12.53 pounds of load, which translates to about 5.7 kilograms. So I have this little hanger that I'm first going to apply. That's about half a kilogram. Then I have this rod that's about 200 grams, and I needed another extra 5 kilos of weight. So I'll be adding these, and as I'm doing this, the dial gauge will be starting to move. I'll show you a close-up view of this in a second, and then after 10 minutes we submerge the specimen into water and keep this going for 24 hours, or when the rate of expansion becomes less than 0.0002 inches. That's when we stop the test. So now about 10 minutes has gone by, and what I'm going to do now is add some distilled water and submerge the specimen. There we go. So now the sample is submerged, and we'll be taking frequent readings at this point. I'll show you a close-up of the dial gauge right now. The reading right now is at 508. So we'll see how this number changes with time, and we'll show you the reading that it will get to in 24 hours.
Alright, now it's been about 2 days since we started the expansion index test, and the dial, as you can see, has gone up by about 0.1 inch total, and we can see the actual expansion of the specimen in there. You can see the soil has actually come up, bulged out of the ring that it was originally in. So the porous stone is pushed up, and the soil is now raised above the ring that it was originally sitting inside, and we had flattened to the top of that.